me be honest with you about something that took me way too long to figure out. For years, I kept my money sitting in a regular savings account at my big bank. Every few months, I would check my balance, see a few cents of interest added, and just kind of shrug and move on. I assumed that was just how saving money worked. I assumed everyone was doing the same thing, and I assumed the bank had my best interests at heart. I was wrong on all three counts, and today I want to talk about exactly why I stopped using traditional savings accounts and what I switched to instead, because this single change has been earning me significantly more money every single year without any extra risk or effort on my part. But before we get into the solution, I want to make sure you actually understand the problem, because I think most people completely underestimate just how badly a traditional savings account is working against them. And once you see the numbers laid out clearly, you are going to feel the same frustration I felt when I finally woke up to what was happening. So here is the reality. The average traditional savings account at one of the major national banks in the United States right now is paying somewhere around 0.01% to 0.5% annual percentage yield. Let me put that into actual dollar terms so this hits home. If you have $10,000 sitting in one of those accounts earning 0.5%, you are making $50 per year. Per year on $10,000. Meanwhile, the option I'm going to share with you today is currently yielding around 4.3%. On that same $10,000, that is $430 per year. That's a difference of $380 annually just sitting there waiting for you, and most people have no idea they're leaving it on the table. Now, multiply that by the fact that many people have $20,000, $30,000, or even $50,000 parked in savings accounts for emergency funds, house down payments, or just general liquid savings. The gap becomes genuinely painful to look at. We're talking about thousands of dollars per year in lost interest that you are essentially gifting to your bank for free. And here's the thing that made me the most frustrated when I figured this out. The banks know exactly what they are doing. They count on customer inertia. They count on the fact that most people open a savings account when they are teenagers or young adults, maybe when their parents take them to the local branch, and they just never question it again. The account is linked to their checking, it feels familiar, and switching feels like a hassle, even though in reality, it takes about 10 minutes. The banks have built their entire business model around this apathy, and as long as we keep letting them, they win. So what am I using instead? I switched to a high-yield savings account, and specifically, I moved my money into one that is connected to a treasury-backed money market fund. Now, I want to explain both of these options clearly because they serve slightly different purposes, and you should understand the distinction before deciding what makes the most sense for your situation. A high-yield savings account is exactly what it sounds like. It is still an FDIC-insured savings account, just like the one at your big bank, but it lives at an online bank or a financial institution that does not have the same overhead costs as a traditional brick-and-mortar bank. Because they are not spending money on hundreds of physical branch locations and armies of tellers, they can pass those savings on to you in the form of higher interest rates. Right now, the best high-yield savings accounts are offering somewhere in the range of 4% to 4.5% APY. Your money is just as safe as it would be at Chase or Bank of America because it is still FDIC insured up to $250,000 per depositor, same as any other savings account. The only real difference is that you cannot walk into a branch, which honestly I have not needed to do for any of my banking in years. Some of the platforms that consistently offer competitive rates right now include online banks and fintech companies that have really disrupted the traditional banking model. I am not going to name specific products because rates change frequently, and I want this video to remain relevant, but a quick search for high-yield savings accounts will surface the current leaders pretty quickly. The key metrics to look for are the current APY, whether there are any minimum balance requirements, whether there are monthly fees, and how quickly you can transfer money back to your main checking account when you need it. Now, the second option I mentioned, the Treasury-backed money market fund, is slightly different, and this is actually where I have moved the bulk of my liquid savings. A money market fund that invests in short-term government securities essentially buys United States Treasury bills, which are short-term debt instruments issued by the federal government. Because these are backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government, they are considered essentially risk-free in terms of default. And right now, the yields on these funds are sitting right around that 4.3% range I mentioned. The reason I actually prefer this to a standard high-yield savings account for a significant portion of my savings is that there is an additional tax advantage that most people are not aware of. The interest income generated by funds that hold Treasury securities is exempt from state and local income taxes. Depending on where you live, this can make a meaningful difference to your effective yield. If you live in a state with a high income tax, like California or New York, that exemption can add anywhere from 0.5% to over 1% to your effective after-tax return. So a 4.3% yield could effectively be closer to 4.8% or even higher for your specific situation once you account for that tax savings compared to a high-yield savings account where all the interest is fully taxable at the federal, state, and local level. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. You are wondering whether this is complicated to set up, whether it is risky, whether there is some catch I'm not telling you about. So let me address those concerns directly because they're totally valid things to consider. First, complexity. Setting up a high-yield savings account is genuinely no harder than opening any other bank account online. You provide your basic personal information, connect your existing bank account for transfers, verify a small test deposit, and you're done. The whole process usually takes under 15 minutes. Moving money in and out typically takes 1 to 3 business days for the transfer to clear, which is slightly slower than an internal transfer within the same bank, but is completely workable for an emergency fund, since you can keep a small buffer in your checking account for immediate needs. For a money market fund, you would typically open a brokerage account if you do not already have one, which is similarly straightforward. Many brokerage platforms now allow you to hold cash in a money market fund as your default cash position, meaning any uninvested cash in your account automatically earns that yield rather than sitting idle. Some brokerages also offer this directly in their cash management accounts. Second, risk. For the high-yield savings account, I already mentioned the FDIC insurance. Your money is protected up to $250,000 per depositor per bank, same as any other savings account. As for the Treasury Money Market Fund, while it is technically not FDIC insured, the assets it holds are Treasury securities which are backed by the United States government. In terms of practical safety for an individual saver, these are about as close to risk-free as any investment you'll find. The main risk with any money market fund is that the yield is variable, meaning it can go up or down over time based on Federal Reserve policy and prevailing interest rates. But the principal, meaning the actual amount of money you put in, is designed to remain stable. Third, the catch. The honest truth is that there's not really a catch. The reason these rates exist and the reason your big bank does not offer them is fundamentally a business model difference. Online banks and brokerage platforms are competing aggressively for deposits and investor assets. They have lower overhead, and they use competitive interest rates as their primary way of attracting customers. Traditional banks rely on branch presence, established relationships, and customer inertia instead. Neither model is inherently evil, but only one of them is actually serving your financial interests when it comes to earning a return on your idle cash. Now I want to spend a few minutes talking about something that I think is even more important than the mechanics of where to put your money. I want to talk about the psychology of why so many people, including my past self, do not make this switch even after they learn about it. Because information alone is clearly not enough. If it were, everyone who reads a personal finance article would immediately act on every piece of advice they encountered. And that is obviously not what happens. The first psychological barrier is what researchers call the status quo bias. This is the deeply human tendency to prefer our current situation simply because it is our current situation, even when a change would objectively benefit us. When it comes to our finances specifically, this is amplified by the fact that banking feels personal and slightly intimidating even to financially literate people. We worry that something will go wrong during the transfer, that we will miss a bill payment, or that we are somehow being naive about a risk we have not identified yet. The discomfort of uncertainty feels worse than the discomfort of leaving money on the table. So we delay, and delay becomes permanent inaction. The second barrier is what I would call the small numbers illusion. When you look at a $300 annual difference, it does not feel urgent. $300 sounds like the cost of a nice dinner out, not like something worth restructuring your financial life over. But this thinking is flawed in two important ways. First, $300 is not nothing. It is groceries for multiple weeks or a significant contribution to a vacation fund or a meaningful addition to your investment portfolio. Second, and more importantly, you have to think about compounding over time. The gap between what you earn in a traditional account versus a high-yield option does not just apply this year, it applies every year you keep that money sitting there. Over 5 or 10 years, the cumulative difference in earnings is substantial. The third barrier is trust, or more precisely, the fear of the unfamiliar. We trust our big bank because we have been using it for years and nothing has ever gone wrong. An online bank or brokerage might feel less stable simply because we have less experience with it. But legally and structurally, FDIC-insured online banks offer identical protections to their brick-and-mortar counterparts. The perception of lower safety is not supported by reality. I want to address one more thing before we talk about how to actually implement this. You might be wondering whether now is still a good time to make the switch, given that interest rates have been shifting. There is a fair amount of speculation about what the Federal Reserve will do with rates over the coming year or two. My honest perspective on this is that trying to time this decision based on rate predictions is a mistake. First, nobody reliably knows what rates will do. Second, even if rates were to drop somewhat from current levels, the differential between high-yield options and traditional savings accounts tends to persist. The structural reason why online banks pay more than big banks does not disappear when rates move. And third, every month you wait is another month of lower interest earnings that you cannot get back. The best time to make the switch was the day you first heard about high-yield savings accounts. The second best time is right now. Let me also talk briefly about how to think about which bucket is right for which money, because I don't think every dollar should necessarily go into the same place. For your emergency fund, the money you would need immediate access to if you lost your job or had an unexpected large expense, I think a high-yield savings account makes the most sense. The FDIC insurance gives you maximum peace of mind, and while transfers take a couple of days, you can manage that with a small checking account buffer for day-to-day expenses. Having 3 to 6 months of expenses in this account is the generally accepted guideline, and earning 4% plus on that money means your emergency cushion is actually doing some work while it sits there waiting. For savings that are earmarked for a specific goal but are not needed immediately, things like a house down payment you plan to make in 1 to 3 years, a car fund, or a large planned expense, the Treasury money market fund starts to look even more attractive because of those state tax benefits I mentioned. You are not sacrificing any meaningful liquidity, and you are potentially squeezing out a better after-tax yield, depending on your state. For cash that lives inside your investment accounts, like funds between investment decisions or dividends that have not been reinvested yet, many brokerage platforms will automatically sweep that cash into a money market fund as the default. This is something worth checking in your own accounts because a lot of people have idle cash in their brokerage accounts earning almost nothing when their platform might have a much better default option available if you just go into the settings and select it. One more layer to this conversation that I think is worth adding. I've been talking mostly about the interest rate comparison, but there is a broader lesson here about financial complacency that applies well beyond just savings accounts. The pattern of accepting a mediocre default because switching requires effort shows up all over our financial lives. It shows up with employer-sponsored retirement plans, where many people stick with whatever the default investment allocation was when they enrolled, rather than selecting something appropriate for their age and goals. It shows up with insurance, where people pay more than they need to because they have not shopped around in 3 years. It shows up with subscription services that charge more every year while quietly betting you will not notice or bother to cancel. Building the habit of periodically reviewing your financial defaults and asking whether they are still the best available option is genuinely one of the highest return activities you can engage in as someone who wants to build wealth. The payoff per hour of effort is enormous compared to most other financial activities, and yet it is consistently undervalued because it feels less exciting than picking stocks or analyzing investment strategies. The boring infrastructure of your financial life, where your cash sits, how your employer match is invested, what your insurance deductibles are, often has a bigger actual impact on your net worth than the more glamorous decisions you spend more time thinking about. I want to close with a summary of what I actually do today, because I find it helpful to see a concrete example rather than just abstract principles. My primary emergency fund sits in a high-yield savings account at an online bank that has consistently offered competitive rates. I have that account linked to my checking account for transfers when needed. My checking account always has about 2 months of expenses in it as a buffer, so I never need to make an emergency transfer for something truly immediate. For my medium-term savings goals, I hold money in a Treasury money market fund through my brokerage account. This is money I expect to need within the next 1 to 3 years for specific goals. The state tax exemption on that interest is genuinely meaningful for my situation. Any cash sitting in my investment brokerage account that has not been deployed into investments automatically sweeps into a money market fund rather than sitting idle. This was a setting I changed about 2 years ago, and it has added a meaningful amount of passive interest income ever since. And the thing I no longer have is a standard savings account at a traditional brick-and-mortar bank earning a fraction of a percent. That account served me for years in a familiar and comfortable way, but comfortable is not the same as optimal, and once I understood the actual cost of that comfort in terms of foregone interest, the decision became easy. If you have been procrastinating on this, I genuinely encourage you to set a timer for 30 minutes this week and just do it. Open one account, move some money, see how it works. You do not have to do it all at once or restructure everything immediately. Just take one step and let that momentum build. The financial system is designed to make money from your inertia. Every day you spend earning 0.5% when 4.3% is available is a day the bank wins and you lose. That is the simple truth, and now that you know it, the only thing standing between you and a better outcome is taking action. If you found this video helpful, I would genuinely appreciate it if you shared it with someone in your life who might still have their savings parked in a traditional account, earning almost nothing. Sometimes all someone needs is to hear the numbers laid out clearly to finally take action. And if you want to go deeper on building strong financial foundations, I'll link to some related videos in the description that I think you will find genuinely valuable. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.